continuing on with some of our links. So the one we're going to be making two today. The first one we're going to be doing is this link here. Try and hold that up so you can see it. There, so I've got another one here that's just in the copper that hasn't been oxidized yet, so you can see the difference in them. These would look absolutely gorgeous in a necklace, you know, when you've got your chain going either side of it. Or you could do it like this as a focal in a necklace and have something hanging down from the bottom and just attach your chain. You could, you know, just figure it out for yourself. Lots of different ways to use it. I wanted to show you this one as well. This one here has 4mm beads in it, and this one has 3mm beads. So I just wanted to show you different ways you can do it. This one is wrapped with the 22 gauge wire around the beads, where this one I had to use a 24 gauge for the wrapping to fit it through the hole of the bead. And we're also going to be making this one here that I showed you in my last video but we didn't make. So this one with the herringbone, and that's got I think that's an 8mm bead in that one. And I wanted to show you this one too, where I just used two 4mm beads, and as you can see it hasn't been oxidized yet, but it's just an idea of different things you can do with it. Okay, just let me get set up here and I'll get straight back with you. Okay, I'm back. So I'm using a 24 gauge. This is the one we're starting off with. So I'm using a 24 gauge copper wire for that one. So I'm just going to what do you know? They're my words. Oh dear. Pull off a certain amount of wire here. I'll measure this when I cut it. Oops, come here. Okay. So, sorry if this is not on camera, but you don't need to see. I'm just going to tell you how much it is. Okay, that's 46 centimeters, which is roughly about 18 inches. You know, it all depends how big you want to make the actual length of your link. So I never waste any wire. If I have scraps, I always use them. Okay, so I'm just going to straighten that out a little bit. Grab my round nose pliers. These are 4mm beads I have here. They're the Dalmatian Jasper. Okay. So I'm just going to come down away like that. We're doing a wrap loop here, so however long you like to make your wrap loops. So I'll grab my flat nose pliers. And I'm just going to wrap around that a couple of times. Cut off my tail. It's not a very good loop there on the end, a little bit wonky. Okay, just squishing that end down a bit. Okay, now I'm grabbing my round nose pliers, and this is totally up to you. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You just make up your own pattern as you're going along. So all we're going to be doing is just grabbing your wire and just making some loops. So hopefully I can do this under my light and camera. Oops, get under there. So you just make up your pattern as you're going along, whatever you feel like doing, bending whichever way you want to bend. You can make them bigger, come down your pliers, make a bigger one. You can go inside that one if you like and make a smaller one. If I can get my wire to bend the angle I want it to so I can get in there. So you've got a smaller loop inside the bigger one. Make another big one if you want. Totally up to you, however you want to do this. I just wish it was easier to do on camera. Okay, one down there. I just stop and have a look and see what I think and go again. I'll do a small one. Go back the other way. I might do a double one here, I think. A double. Oops, never mind. And then another one here. So you just go along doing whatever you want. You probably won't need the 18 inches. I said I'm getting to the where I want to finish up. Maybe try 12 inches, 14 inches, something like that. I just always cut off more than I need because I never know what I'm going to be doing. So I'm bringing that up to the end there now. Yeah, that's about long enough for me. And now I'm just going to get my wire straighteners and just give that a bit of a straighten there. And I'm going to do another wrap loop. And cut that off. Tuck it down. Okay, now I'm going to grab my block and hammer and just using your rubber hammer, we're going to give that a bit of a hammer just to strengthen it. You can go a bit more if you don't feel it's firm enough. It is only 22 gauge, so All right, now I'm going to grab another piece of my 22 gauge wire. That's probably long enough there. I'll measure this again for you. Just a sec, I'll just cut it first. These are just rough estimations. Okay, that one's about 11 inches long, which is about 28 centimetres. Okay, now I'm going to come in on this loop here, and I'm going to wind around that neck. Okay, and I'm going to cut that piece off. And don't worry about it too much because you're going to have beads over the top of it anyway. And just tuck that down. Just bringing that around up to the top. That's about right there. So I'm going to thread on, I'm going to start with 5 and I'll see how it looks. It might need a 6th bead on it. These Dalmatian jaspers are hard to find the holes because the holes look like dots off the jasper. Well, they do to me anyway. They just look like a black spot. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. Start with 5 first and see where it sits. Oh, I could probably pop in a 6th one, I think. Yep. There we go. Okay, from here we're going to wrap around that neck. And just remember, it doesn't have to be, because it's freeform, you don't have to be particular about your wraps or anything like that. The messier it looks, the better it looks when it's been patinaed. So, okay, from here I'm going to come down through that loop, the first loop there. Just grab my pliers, give me a hand, pull that through. And it's just a matter of seeing, you want to sort of come up straight across. So you just have to look and see and move things around to get it in a position where you know where you've got to come up. So I'll need to come up through this loop here. Just want to pull that through a bit tighter. There we go. And I'm coming across the bead now in between the 2 beads. And I'm going to come down through that loop there. You want to try and pull it in as tight as you can. And just do any adjusting. I want to get that wire in a bit closer there like that. Okay, then we're going to come around. And there's no loop here, so I can just go straight across. Bring that in nice and tight. And then the next one. No, I'll have to come up through a gap there. It can be a little bit of a struggle, as you can see, but I'll get it eventually. So you just take your time with it. I'm going to give that a bit of a straighten. It's getting a bit bent. I don't want to work hard but too much, otherwise I won't be able to work with it. Okay, so coming around that in between that bead again, and then having a look and seeing where you can come up through your wire, through that gap there. I'll try my bent nose and see if I can do this easier. There we go. It's not exactly where I wanted it to come up, but let me see what I can do here. There we go. So now we're coming across, and I'll have to go down through that loop. Straighten my end out a little bit. There we go, through that one. Just a couple more to go. Down through that gap. My wire's a little bit work hardened here, so that's why I'm having a bit of a time with it. I didn't want it to look like that, but I actually don't mind that look there of that piece of wire going up instead of coming straight across. I don't mind that at all. Just adds a little bit more interest. So I could come back around again if I wanted to and add a little bit more interest to it, which I will. Okay, and then across in front. Just make your mind up as you're going along, like just see what you think. Okay, now I've wound around the top of that, so I'm just going to cut my wire off. Yeah, I quite like the look of that end. And then you just fiddle with it, getting it to sit the way you want it to sit. Use your wire straighteners, goodness. And yeah, just get things to sit straight. Just fiddle around with it. And just said it's freeform, so it doesn't have to look all neat and tidy. If you're a neat and tidy freak, this probably isn't one for you. Yeah, I like the look of that. I can see this patina. It would look. It's going to look absolutely beautiful. So that's our first link there. Okay, second one. I'm using an 8mm bead, and again I'm using the Dalmatian Jasper. We're making this one. So this starts off exactly the same as the one I showed you last week, and I'm just trying to see where I put my 22 gauge. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link down below for the starting off of this one. So what I'm going to do here is stop this video, and I'm going to get it made up to where we're going to add in oh my goodness, the herringbone. Oh geez, Linda, good on you. Yeah, so if you haven't seen the previous one, then watch that, and when you come back you'll see where I'm up to, and then you'll be able to carry on from there. So I'll see you shortly. Okay, I'm just back for a second. I just realized when I said to follow the other video along, this one's a little bit different starting off. So you don't put the bead on first. I've got my piece of wire here. I've come down to I've measured it, made it so that it sits like that. The ends are equal, and I'm at the middle of the wire. So instead of putting a bead on, you're just going to bend your wire. You want one piece coming out that way, one piece coming out that way. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's like a lazy S there. And then from there, we're just going to start bending the first one around like that. Then bring the second one around. And then just follow it on as if you had a bead on there, but you don't. Just like that. Just making that messy rose pattern. So if you follow on like that, and when you get to when you've got a wire on each end, that's when I'll come back. All right, see you then. Okay, I'm back. Just before I went off, I said to you to have a piece of wire going from each end. Well, you actually need them both at the one end. They're like I have here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these wires. We're going to come up, and this is the same as what we did in the previous video. We're going to come up. Just actually I've got that one a little bit too high. I want to come in there. So if you can see where I am, just above that first wire there in the loop. I'm just going to wrap this around. So bringing it up tight like that. And coming through a second time through the same hole, the same gap. Excuse me. Pulling that up tight. There we go. Just move that one out of the way. Now we're going to make grab your round nose pliers, and we're going to do a wrap loop. I should use my pliers for this. I can't get it very tight without my pliers. Tell you what, I'm loving this weather today. Last couple of days, especially yesterday. Yesterday was 35 degrees Celsius, which I think is pretty close to 100 in Fahrenheit. We're only 3 weeks into spring. So it's, and it's been like that well over 30 for, I think it's 4 or 5 days. Today it's dropped down to 24, so it's a lot cooler. And I'm loving it. There's a nice breeze blowing outside. Okay, so we just cut that off, and now we're just taking that down. Now with this one here, we're bringing it up straight like this. So you just want to get the angle on it first. You can use your pliers if you want to. You don't have to get it perfect. Nothing with Freeform or organic is perfect. But just get it as close into the middle as you can. Now I'm going to grab a piece of 24 gauge wire. I'll measure this one for you. Oh, I said breeze, it's actually coming up to a bit of a wind out there. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Okay, that's roughly 36 centimetres, which would be just over 14 inches, about 14¼ inches. Yeah, quarter. That's just a guesstimation on my part. I might not need that much. As I said, I always cut off more than I actually need. So now I'm going to bring this wire here out straight just to make it easier. And I'm going to start the wraps for the herringbone. So you can work anywhere on your wire, because you can move, as long as you don't put these around too tight, you can move them down. So wherever it's easiest for you to do your wraps. Just cutting off that tail. Squishing it down a little bit. Don't worry about it too much. You don't want to make it too tight so you can't move it when we need to. Okay, popping on your bead. There's a hole. And we're going to do a herringbone. Okay, now I'm just going to scooch that down, turn it around the right way. Scooch that down and see how my wraps line up. And that's pretty much perfect, I think. Scooch it down a little bit more. So I'm trying to get this on camera. Okay, that's perfect. So what I'm going to do here is just finish off my wraps. Cut that piece of wire off. Tuck that in. And just get it centered as much as you can. Okay, now we're bringing this wire around and finding a gap, not in the first row, just go down a bit. I could see that would be great. There we go. Yep, oh, I had it and I popped it back out again. So you don't want to go on the first row because it's going to distort the shape of the, not that that matters that much because we're going to squish it anyway, but okay, I just realised what I did then. I cut off my piece of 24 gauge wire and I wanted it to make the loops and that I've got going around, but it doesn't matter. I'll just attach it again, but don't cut it off. Keep your 24 gauge wire on. Can't believe I did that. And coming back up through that same gap again. And then just straight, getting those in line as much as you can. Okay, now we're going to do another wrap loop. Tucking that in. These days I don't worry about so much if I can feel it anymore because now I have the tumbler. It takes care of all of those little sharp bits. You just don't have them anymore. So now my piece of 24 gauge wire, which might need a bit longer piece. I would cut that wire a bit longer. What did I say? 18 inches or something. I'd probably cut 18, 20, so about 23, 24 inches. Just find a gap. This is what I'm doing now because I cut mine off and I didn't mean to. I just wasn't concentrating on what I was doing. So it doesn't matter how you wrap this on because it's all going to be squished. Just trying to find a gap to get through there. this tail in. Okay, I'm just going to cut that off. Tuck it down. Okay, now we're just going to make some loops. Just anywhere, like just any pattern you like. Just backwards and forwards, whatever you want. Going around that neck onto the other side. Okay, around that neck. And then hopefully you should have enough wire. Hopefully I have enough wire here. Just trying to find a gap to come up in between this loop here so I can tie them down. There we go. So you just want to go around your piece, coming up in between. And as I said last week on, I've left my awl over at my actual workbench. If you can't find a gap, just use your awl to make a little gap to get through. You want to tie all of your loops down. So that one's sitting up there. You can just bring that down a little bit so you can. There we go. Move that one down. Okay, I'm going to have to stop my video here so I can grab my awl. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, back. I've got my awl. I'm just going to make a hole in there so I can get this wire up. I might just make it with this piece of wire. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Coming around to this one. And did I already do that one? I'm not sure, so I'm going to do it again. Just find a gap, pop it up, pull it in nice and tight. And I know I've been around those ones, so I'm just going to finish this wire off. Tuck it down, make sure it's nice and tight. Okay. Now it's time to just straighten things up. Okay, I want to move this loop off the top of my herringbone there. This isn't the best one I've ever made. Anyway, now is the time to start squishing and squashing. It can be a little bit hard to get your pliers, get it started, but you'll get there with it. And I'm not gentle with this. I get in there and I really give it a good go. Okay, I just want to make sure that the top and the bottom loop are fairly well lined up. You can just play around with it until you like what you've got there. As I said, this is not my best one I've ever made, but I can fiddle with a bit more later. Yeah, so there's no right or wrong with this. You just do what you like. Get the shape that you like. Okay, that's better, but I'm still not 100% happy with it. But once that's, even though I'm not happy with it now, I know once it's patinaed, we'll like it a whole lot more. So that's our herring. You really can't even see the herringbone there. It's just all blending in with the copper, but it does pop out when you patina it. So yeah, have a go at that one. That's another link for you. All right, that's pretty much all I've got for today. So yeah, everyone have a good one, and I'll see you all next week. Hope you enjoyed learning these links that we did today. I think they look, and they just look absolutely stunning when you put them into pieces of jewellery. Figure out different ways you can use them, and let me know in the comments if you can think of, like these, you could turn these into earrings quite easily. Even probably something like that, if you didn't like something really long. I mean, you could add a drop at the bottom, your ear wire on top, but if you didn't like it as long as that, just make a shorter one and make a pair of earrings with it. If you have any other suggestions, just let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what your ideas are. Okay, everybody, have a good one, and I'll catch you all next week. Bye.